And joining me now is Mahesh Jethmalani, Senior Supreme Court Advocate. Mr. Jethmalani, of course, you know, this is a debate which began today. The entire incident of pile of unaccounted cash being recovered from the residence of Justice Varma has raised a lot of questions. But should stricter mechanisms be in place to investigate corruption within the judiciary? This has also reignited debates if sitting judges should be subjected to CBI or Lokpal investigations.
There's a misconception, right? In Veeraswamy's case, right, if a judge was, found involved in a case of corruption or bribery, right, or disproportionate assets, right, the investigating agency, an FIR could be lodged, right? The investigating agency, as per Veeraswamy's judgment, would have to seek the sanction of the Chief Justice of India to whether, if it was a constitutional court judge, right, High Court or Supreme Court, to continue with the investigation and then file a charge sheet. So that's the law laid down, right? This in-house procedure, right, is something which happens in cases where it's reported to the CJI before it's got into the hands of the police. Right? But sometimes an FIR is filed with the police, and then if the police think it's not a frivolous case, then the Veeraswamy course will be taken by the police. In this case, the situation is slightly different. It seems to have been reported to the Chief Justice of India, and then the collegium decided to do whatever they did. I don't know. Right now, there are so many corrigendums issued by the Supreme Court, right? Or at least one corrigendum I know of, thanks to you, right? Which suggests that I don't even know, was money in fact seized, because what we were told initially was that the transfer was because of that in fact we were told there was a division in the paper report suggested that there was a division in the collegium. A transfer was ordered, right? But there were some members, or at least more than one member, or maybe just one member, who as per the news report said that stricter action should be taken than just a mere transfer. And about this fire officer thing, I would, the Supreme Court has taken some action, right? Now, we should await the final report, since there seems to be some clarification issued by the Supreme Court. But I would not take the statement of a fire officer, right? Because in the first place, we don't know how the seizure of this money came to the Supreme Court's knowledge, right? Whether the fire officer had anything to do with it, we don't know. All we know is that there's a fire officer. That's what we've been told. And I don't think that's not been put out by the Supreme Court. There's a separate story which says that a fire officer who doused the fire said that no money was seized while he was dousing the fire. That's all.
Mr. Jethmalani, is there any other option between the transfer and impeachment? Any other available remedy for the judiciary to send a message of impartiality and accountability?
Well, look, the most noble cause for a judge, if there's cash seized from his house, which is unaccounted for and appears to be illegally in his possession, right, is resignation. It would save everything else, right? Then whether the court wants to or anybody wants to, but there are a lot of issues arising out of this. How was this money seized? How much money was seized, right? Was it accumulation in more than one case, or was it just a one case situation? If it was related to a particular list for giving, these are all speculative questions, and it doesn't behove me to speculate to that extent about a judge who was otherwise considered to be a very fine judge. But the question that will emerge, because obviously something has happened. Some drastic action was taken by the Supreme Court, notwithstanding the subsequent clarification. Right? Now we are told that he was transferred in the normal course, or for reasons because he was the ninth most senior judge and all that. But if this money was indeed seized from his house, then these questions will arise, because the the public needs to know what was the quantum involved, right? And was it related to a judgment in a particular case? That's all. Or cases.
Yes, and there are allegations of favoritism and corruption which have been there in judicial appointment. The larger collegium system has faced multiple questions in the past. Then you have the NJAC, which was struck down by the Supreme Court on the grounds of judicial independence. With these controversies resurfacing, and this one perhaps really, one would say, a shocker, do you think the NJAC would have perhaps ensured better checks and balances, Mr. Jethmalani?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think that when you leave the issue of corruption within an institution to the apex body of that institution itself, there tends to be instinctively, right? A sort of institutional bias in the sense that the apex body, see, it's a brotherhood, right? They know these judges. Sometimes judges make mistakes. They get all, so it probably requires that you can have you should have the judiciary involved in the procedure of deciding whether to take strict action or not. But there should also be some people externally from outside the judiciary involved in this decision-making process.
All right.
I'm not talking about necessarily an overseeing ombudsman over the judiciary, right? That to me seems to be too drastic a measure. But I think the judiciary should, in this process, involve outsiders, right, who are completely free from any possible latent bias regarding the person concerned.
All right, Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani, thank you so much for joining us here on NDTV.